There are a number of errors, and I need to point some of these out, okay? This is a problem that I thought of as I was driving to the college today, and decided we'd go ahead and wing it, and unfortunately I did a few careless things that didn't really necessarily detract, but it caused a little confusion. So, one thing, I was thinking about the voltage of a surge multiplied by the delta T, which is essentially the impulse of the surge. But the surge is voltage of the surge, and it lasts for time delta T. It's not a V surge times delta T, and I wrote it down that way and then used it that way. That led to problems, and so you want to be aware of that, okay? Were severe problems, but at the end we had some inconsistency, and we had to go back and repair it. Now that is the way problems are usually done, so I don't mind that it happened this way, but I want to warn you in advance about some of these things. So you can see the process, but you know where it's going to go. The green comment here was added later, and it's correct. And you can see how it was related to this when you get to that point. Here I carelessly wrote down H of capital T plus delta T instead of H of T minus capital T plus delta T. And then I compounded that. And similarly with this expression. So the first time you encounter these expressions, they're not going to have a T, little t minus. And they should. And then of course when I wrote them out here, I didn't have the little t minus the translation, the shift of the Heaviside function. Other than that, the expressions are correct, but that's kind of a big deal. Down here I kind of just had to put the t minus quantity here, so it's understood that that is just this. And similarly down here. Other than that, things are pretty much right. The Laplace transform is correct. Well, actually the Laplace transform, every time we had the V surge, there was a delta t on it because of the error I made over here. That's been removed. So when you see that, understand that was just a careless error where I was essentially confusing the impulse with the voltage without really noticing that I was doing that. Then we get to the equations, and in the equations, this part of the expression is different than what you'll see the first time through because this is the part that's related to the surge and the translation of the Heaviside function. So we have that, and down here, what we have here is different. And we'll explain that when we get to it. And this is wrong, and actually that one should have been corrected. So this should have read this. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and erase this. And then before I do the videos of the board, this expression should go here. I'll put that in. Okay, then the rest comes out more or less correct. I did have to do corrections here and here. And when we get down here, then I found these mistakes when I got to this point and realized that what I had here was not going to reconcile with what I have here. I just didn't, it was obvious it wasn't going to reconcile, so I went back and looked at what I'd done. Okay, so, and then over here I say H of T minus the quantity T plus delta T. That's how you translate the Heaviside function to the point T plus delta T. And not H of T plus delta T or H of T. These things aren't even really defined because you don't have a variable. Okay, so those are some of the errors that you'll see. The flow of the reasoning is correct, I think, throughout. And the whole procedure is, but those details are wrong. So see if you can kind of spot them as you go. Yeah. And of course, you can also skip, I think, to about the last video, fairly long video, where I summarize everything after making the corrections.